Good morning students, welcome to the English online class. Today we will be done with the final part of the chapter, the cherry tree, that is written by the Ruskin Bond. Dear students, last time we learned that how the Rakesh planted the tree and how it grew up, and how grandfather advised him that how he must water that plant, and he got big and he got raised up, and then it went through so many of the hurdles, it went through so many of the obstacles, it went through so many of the struggles. So after that, what happened to the cherry tree, and today we will learn about that. Okay, so dear students, it's the part 2 on page number 16. That year monsoon rain came early and the cherry tree grew quickly in that season. It grew about 2 feet high when a goat entered the garden and ate all the leaves. Only the main stem and 2 thin branches remained. It made Rakesh upset, but grandfather encouraged that trees are tough, it will grow again. Okay, now what happened when that cherry seed got germinated? Rakesh was very excited, Rakesh was very happy that the cherry tree has gotten germinated and now it will be a fruits and now it will be a beautiful flowers. But what happened next that when the monsoon came, and monsoon came early and cherry tree quickly grew up, but then a goat came in the garden and he ate all the leaves of the tree. Okay, so it made Rakesh upset. Rakesh became very sad about that, but grandfather encouraged him that the trees grow fast and it will grow again. Trees are strong, so it will grow again, no need to worry about that. In the rainy season, new leaves appeared on the tree, and accidentally a woman cutting the grass cut the cherry tree in two. When grandfather saw that, he scolded the woman, but now the damage couldn't be repaired. Rakesh grew discouraged and said that it may be die, and grandfather said that it might, but the cherry tree didn't seem in any intention to die. Okay, now what happened the next day? When in the rainy season, again when the cherry tree bared the leaves, when the cherry tree had new branches, accidentally by mistake a woman came for cutting the grass in the garden and he cut all the branches of the cherry tree, not intentionally but accidentally. Okay, so it made Rakesh discouraged again, and this time he was saying that it may not grow and it will die. This is what he said. But grandfather encouraged him that it might. It is not sure that it will die, but it might. Okay, but the cherry tree wasn't seen in any intention to die, means he wasn't in any condition to die. There was a hope that it will grow again. So it's part 2 on page number 17 now. By the time summer came round again, the several new shoots came and green leaves grew on it. Rakesh also turned 8 years old. That monsoon cherry tree had grown another foot. Even when there was still rain, Rakesh would water it to let the tree know that he is there. Now it's the summertime came around. It was the summertime and Rakesh also turned 8 years old, and as the Rakesh turned 8 years old, we could see that cherry tree also grew again. It didn't die, it grew again. Okay, and in the monsoon, cherry tree had grown another foot. It grew another foot, means it was just equal to the height of the Rakesh at that time. Even when there was rain, Rakesh still would water it to let the tree know that he is there. Now it was the season of rain. Okay, it was pouring heavily, and the germinated seed, the cherry tree, was getting well hydrated. Still Rakesh was watering it. Why Rakesh was watering it? Rakesh was watering it just to let that tree know that he is there for it. Okay. Winter also came early. The cherry tree bent down because of the weight of the snow. In February it was Rakesh's birthday. He turned 9 and the tree was 4 and almost as tall as Rakesh. Okay. Now what happened that winters also came early. Winters also came early and the cherry tree bent down. Why did cherry tree bend down? Cherry tree bent down because it was heavy with snow. Snow fell so much on that tree that it just you can see because of the weight of that snow, it bent down. Okay, and in the February it was the birthday of Rakesh also, so the cherry tree grew another foot and now it was equal to the height of the Rakesh. Okay, one morning grandfather went into the garden to soak in the warmth of the sun. He stopped in front of the cherry tree and stared at it for moments and called Rakesh to look at the tree before it falls. Okay, Now one morning when grandfather went into the garden just to soak in the warmth of the sun, because it was the season of the winter, and of course in the season of the winter we all need the heat of the sun, the warmth of the sun. So grandfather went into the garden for that, and when he went into the garden he saw the cherry tree blooming. He saw the fruits in the cherry tree, and he called the Rakesh a sap. Okay. Now we will continue the part 2 on page number 17. Rakesh and grandfather kept looking at the tree as it had performed some miracle. There was a pale pink blossom at the end of the branch. The next year of that there were more blooms, and suddenly the tree was taller than Rakesh. Even it was half of his age, and then it grew taller than grandfather, who was even older than some of the oak trees. Okay, so now Rakesh and grandfather kept on looking to that cherry tree. Why they kept on looking to that cherry tree? They kept on looking to that cherry tree because like they saw that even after so much of the struggles, even after it was cut by a woman, even after it was eaten by a goat, it still grew, and it grew very beautifully, that now it is bearing flowers and now it is bearing fruits. Okay, and by the next year there were so many blooms in the cherry tree, and the cherry tree was now much taller than the grandfather, and grandfather was even older than many of the oak trees. If you have ever seen the oak trees are taller and are very huge in the size. Okay, so it oak trees usually cover the 50 feet of the circumference of any area. They are this much big, but cherry tree grew even taller than the grandfather, and oak trees even didn't have this sort of height, because there were many oak trees that were older than the grandfather. Okay, in the cherry tree bees came to feed on the nectar, and tiny birds pecked at the blossoms, but the tree kept blossoming right through the spring. Rakesh saw cherries on the tree and tasted one, and they were sour in the taste. Now birds used to come and they used to peck in the cherry tree, they used to peck the fruits, they used to sit on the tree, and the bees also used to come. And they used to collect the nectar for the honey. And Rakesh saw cherries on the tree, and when Rakesh saw cherries on the tree, he tasted one, and he said that they are sour in the taste, not sweet but sour. Okay. Now the grandfather encouraged him, saying that they will be better the next year. The birds, especially bigger ones, also enjoyed the cherry tree and cherries through the roof. It was a warm sunny day, and Rakesh was looking for the grandfather. He was reclining, leaning back in a relaxed position on a cane chair under the cherry tree. Okay, now grandfather encouraged him that if the cherries are tasting sour now, it will taste sweet by the next year, it will taste better by the next year. Okay, and one morning grandfather was leaning on a cane chair, a chair made up of sugarcane woods, and reclining means he was, if you have ever seen your grandfather or your grandmother or any of your family member, reclining means having being in a relaxed position on a comfy chair, if you have ever seen that. So he was in just that position, and he encouraged Rakesh that the cherries will grow sweeter by the next year. Okay, and when grandfather came in, when grandfather returned to the home from the garden, Rakesh went into the garden, and he used to sleep on the grass. And he used to look up to the sky through the leaves of the cherry trees. If you have ever visited the garden, and if you have ever watched out to the sky, if you have ever looked up to the sky from through the leaves or from between the leaves, then you could relate to that how how the sky was appearing to Rakesh at that time. He gazed up through the leaves at the great blue sky, and turning on his side, he could see the mountains striding, moving forward towards the clouds. Now when Rakesh just moved to one side or to the another side, at that time he saw that mountains are striding away. How mountains could stride away? Mountains weren't striding away, it was just the clouds that were passing above the mountains, and he was feeling like the mountains are going forward with the clouds. Okay, he was still lying beneath the tree when the evening shadows crept across the garden. Grandfather came back and sat down beside Rakesh, and they waited in silence until it was dark. Now Rakesh was still lying in the garden only, and then grandfather also came, and he was just seeing the shadows of the trees, and he was just seeing the shadows of the birds and everything that was around him. And grandfather also came and gave him the company, and they were waiting for the evening to come. They were waiting for it to get dark. Okay. Now Rakesh asked the grandfather that there are so many trees in the forest, then what's so special about this tree? And the grandfather replied that they have planted it by themselves, and this is why it's special. Rakesh touched the smooth bark of the tree and wondered at how a tiny seed could get transformed into a big tree, and he whispered that this is how the touch of God feels like. Okay, so Rakesh asked the grandfather what is so special about the cherry tree that we have planted. There are so many trees in the garden, but what makes the cherry tree special? So grandfather replied that we have planted it by ourselves. They planted that tree by themselves, and this is what make that cherry tree special. Okay. Now grandfather Rakesh touched the smooth bark. Now Rakesh just touched the stem, the bark of the tree, and he exclaimed that this is what God feels like. He felt that this is what God feels like if we are touching the bark of the tree. If he was touching the bark of the tree, then so he said that if he is touching the bark of the tree, he is feeling like he is touching the God. Okay. Now what is so special about the tree that they have planted? According to me, it is because I would say that it went through so many struggles. Goat came and ate it, and then it was chopped by a woman accidentally who came into the garden to cut the grass, but accidentally the tree was cut by her accidentally, and but still it grew again. When Rakesh was thinking that the tree will not grow, it grew again. So what is the moral of this story? The moral of this story is that when you do not give up on something, when you persevere about something, you are never going to lose regarding what you want and regarding what you are working for. Okay, so I hope that you all have enjoyed this chapter. I would encourage you and I would advise you to read this chapter over and over again, and keep your books open in front of you while you are reading this chapter, and while you are listening to the video, and while you are watching to this video. Okay, so I hope that it has encouraged you in so many ways, and okay, we will meet in the next class with a new chapter. Till that, thank you very much.